us a little bit about your character and how you got involved with the project?
Yes. Asta is a messy, complicated, vulnerable, sassy woman who feels, as she said in the pilot, like an outsider. Doesn't really trust many people, as you can see with her abusive ex-husband. She keeps people at arm's length. She's had a lot of trauma and tragedy in her life, so I think it's really interesting to meet her at this time when she's getting back on her feet. 4 months after leaving her abusive ex-husband. It was really important to me and the writers that we showcase what it's like for a woman to try to find herself again, and it has nothing to do with being in a relationship or like anything else other than anxiety, depression, like dealing with self-love. So I feel like it's really exciting that you're meeting her at this time. It's also really exciting that she's meeting Harry at this time in her life. There's a synergy to him coming into her world. I think as interesting as he is, he makes her lighten up a little bit. You know, he brings a comic and a youthfulness that she doesn't have, and I think there's a friendship and a bond that they form that she doesn't have with anyone else in the town. So that's awesome.
So during the panel, you mentioned that you don't think she has any suspicions about Harry yet. Do you think if she found out, she would even really care?
I definitely think she would care. I don't think she would be surprised. I think she suspects that he's different. I don't think she, of course, suspects that he's an alien. But she's spiritual, and she believes in star people and otherworldly and what's out there, and so I think there's definitely like a, I knew it, you know, like, of course you're an alien, you know. But I do think it's gonna, if she does find out, I do think it's gonna be like a high alert situation. As a woman, when you're in a room with a man who's dangerous, you can't show it. Otherwise he'll die, you know. So there's a moment of, or a woman or any other person that's dangerous, doesn't have to be a man, but like I do think when you know as a human being that there's a situation all of a sudden that someone could kill you, you got to take it real slow and like be respectful, you know.
It just seems like the show obviously has funny moments. Is there a balance with, because there's some issues that she's dealing with that could be some dramatic issues as well. So is there a balance in the show, or is it mostly funny? Or?
I think Alan described it best at the top when he was introducing it. It's a dramedy, and I think it specializes in being a small town, everyday life drama that's funny because it's true. Like funny, quirky, real life moments that are awkward and you have those interactions, and he has this ability to say just what he's thinking, and she does too, but in a different way. And so I think having the two of them side by side, constantly kind of saying what's on their mind, is just like a fuel for comedy, you know. But I don't think that they're specifically like hoping it's a drama or hoping it's a comedy. I think they just want to make a relatable story, and it just so happens that an alien's at the front. You know, I think the best stories are the ones where you could plug in any genre. It's just good writing, and I feel like that's how this script is.
She's got a lot of layers. What are you hoping to really delve into?
I definitely want to deal with domestic abuse. I want to showcase a different side of toxic relationships. I think a lot of times we see women getting beat up by a man, and it just being that she never leaves and you don't know why. And I think it's important to show like a woman, you know, or a man again, stays because they really love the person, and they're toxic too. And there is a fight between them. And I think we had this conversation at the beginning of shooting, and I said it was really important to me that we show that she fights back. That it's not just that she's taken advantage of and she just stays because she's weak. No, she stays because she wants to make it right. And like she says to Alan, you know, if I left, then I gave the baby up for nothing. You know, there's this pride for her that is a huge through line that I think could possibly be a weakness for her too. A stubbornness and a defensiveness that might get her into trouble. I think it'll be interesting though to see, like, you know, in the pilot we see Harry like in the moment kind of saving the day, but I'd be interested to see what it's like when she saves the day for him. And so I think there's this, I really want to show the dynamic of man and woman being equal. There is an aggressiveness to both sexes, and that there is also a hero-ness to both sexes. You know.
Was it easy for you to get like kind of fall into this role, or what kind of prep work did you have to do?
Yeah, it was so familiar. From the moment I saw the comic book cover, I felt like, wow, that looks like me. To the moment that I read the script, I felt like, wow, I know this story, this town, these people, and then when I stepped into the audition, it just clicked, and it felt powerful and right, and I walked away just kind of like, didn't really think much of it because it was so just normal. You know, sometimes you can overthink an audition, and I think I was like, all right, that was good, you know, like, oh my God, that, all right, you know, and then I booked it off of that one audition. So I think that shows a lot how we just get it, you know. And David Dobkin, who was the director, said when he saw the tape, he was like, that's it. And so that was really encouraging for me, being cast first, knowing that was kind of the start of how they were building their cast, which made me feel good.
I can't help but, you know, think of the whole relationship with you and Harry. It's sort of like a sort of contemporary, like Mork and Mindy kind of.
Yeah, that's a great reference.
It's so nice. I was wondering what like the environment was like on set, because you hear about so many different things. You know, I can imagine, you know, Alan maybe, you know, was having everyone laugh.
Yes, actually, you know what's funny about Alan and I is that he is so funny and so great, but we had a couple of awkward moments when we first met that weren't bad. They were just like, we didn't quite get each other. Okay. In the same way that Asta and Harry don't quite get each other. Like, he would make a joke and I'd be like, ha, you know, or I'd make a joke and he'd be like, ha, you know, like, we had these moments and I'd be like, wow, this is really well cast, you know, like, really method right now. And then, so when we're in these scenes for the first time, I feel like, you know, Alan and I haven't talked about it, you know, it's not like we were like, that was awkward. Like, we just, you know, I think when you're meeting people for the first time and working together, you also want to, like, keep a distance, and, you know, so everybody has a different method, but he and I just, like, we just kind of get it. When we're in the room, we don't get each other as characters, but we also just, like, we get each other enough that we were able to really play off of each other in the moment. And so anytime he's doing something, he's always throwing something new at me. It's a real reaction because I have no idea what he's going to do. And it is really fun to work with that as an actor. You want to play, and you don't want it to stagnate. You don't want it to be predictable. And there are definitely, especially moments they kept in the pilot, that I love of my reactions, because that was not how I was planning on doing it, but that's just what came out because of what he was giving me. So it was really beautiful to see that we kind of came from this very, like, I don't know who you are, I've never worked with you before, until, like, now we're like, all right, I get you. Yeah.
Do you think that, you know, why certain people stay in a toxic relationship? Is it part of it is that unknown? Once they leave, you're on your own.
Yeah.
You don't know what their future is going to hold. And there's almost, I wouldn't say a con list, but you know what it's going to be, and that's not going to change.
Yeah.
And there's almost a false sense of security.
Yeah, I think that, you know, every person is different. How they handle anxiety and depression and toxic relationships in their lives is different. But I do think more often than not, we expect or hope that the person will change. And you hear that a lot. I thought they would change, but you really do. At what point is it allowed to give up without it being giving up? At what point are you taking your power back versus abandoning someone? And I think there's a thin line between the two, and you have to decide for yourself, as she does, as Asta does in the pilot, enough's enough. This isn't love. This isn't helping. And I think it helps her, but I also feel like it drives her story. I think you're right. I think there's a truth to, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be without a partner who knows me, even if it is toxic. At least I get it. Like, at least I know that flavor of cereal. Like, I don't have to like pick a new one. I don't have to think. When you're on your own for the first time again in a while, it's not autopilot anymore. It is literally just like everything. So what you're experiencing when you see her is everything is new. And what you'll get in episode 2 is meeting her father and their relationship, and how it's also a little bit complicated. And she has to go back to the town she grew up in, and she has to go back to being around her father, which is also a whole other layered element to her trying to figure out who she is and what she really wants. But I do think in toxic relationships, you're right. It's all about, I don't want to be alone. But I think it's time to take her power back.